Greetings! I'm back today with another pillow tutorial, and this time I'm going to be doing a quilted pillow back, and I'm going to put a zipper in it. So very similar to when I used the Minky, but because the quilted pillow back has a layer of fabric, a layer of batting, and a backing, it becomes thicker, and so I do change the process just a little bit for that, but it still has a zipper that's going to be going across that's hidden under a flange. So I have today a 16-inch pillow top, and I made it from a pattern for a quilt, but I just made one block. It's the same size as I will need for a 16-inch pillow from this Quilter's World magazine. And then I have the pillow top is already quilted. I have it cut to the exact size, and then you can see the backing for the pillow is oversized, so it's much bigger than the quilted pillow. That just gives us some room to work, that kind of thing. And then we have our backing. So the first thing we're going to do is I am going to just kind of cut this in half, which would be and I'm just eyeballing it. It's definitely oversized, so we have room to work with things. So I'm just going to slice that there. And then now when I do that, I have exposed edges, meaning I can see the batting. It's not finished nicely, that kind of thing. So we are going to do some finishing steps to make this usable for our pillow. So the first thing that I am going to do is I'm going to kind of scooch that up there, and then I'm going to work on what is going to be the bottom piece of my pillow back. And for this, I'm just going to make a single fold, kind of a binding, an edge finish that we're going to do on that and attach it to the zipper. And so I just have some random fabric, and I'm going to cut a piece that is about 1.5 inch wide. I also have a oversized zipper that I'm going to trim down and then add a just scrap piece of fabric to each end to extend the zipper to make it a little bit longer. And so I'm going to take this fabric and I'm just going to make a strip that is 1.5 inches wide, should be plenty. Okay, get it oriented the right way here. All right, so 1.5 inches is there. I'm going to just trim that. And then while I'm here cutting, I'm going to cut another piece that will be used as the flange for the other top of the pillow. So that one I'm going to cut at 3 inches. Okay, and then I'll just set that aside for a little bit. And then this fabric here is just extra. And I could use this for a binding, but I think I'm going to put a stripe binding on it. So right now I'm going to set that to the side, and I'm going to be working with the smaller strip here. And what I'm going to do with this is I am going to just line it up right sides together with this exposed edge, and I'm going to stitch about 1/4 inch away from the edge of that, and then we're just going to wrap it around, and then that's going to finish that off and sew it to our zipper. So before we go to the machine to do that, I'm also going to do a little prep work on the zipper. And again, this zipper is oversized, so you can see here it's much larger. And so I am going to mark the zipper at about 14 inches. So that would be, on my 16-inch pillow, that's going to be about 1 inch in on this side and 1 inch in on this side. And so I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. And the reason I make it smaller is because when I'm adding my binding to the pillow, I don't want to have the zipper teeth or lots of extra bulk with the zipper inside my binding. That just makes it one more layer that you have to sew through, and it just makes it really bulky and thick. So I do shorten the zipper and then add a little fabric scrap tab, because this is much thinner to have caught in the binding. So I'm just going to eyeball this and put a pin there, and then we'll finish that off at the sewing machine as well. At the machine now, I'm going to attach this single piece of fabric. I've got it right sides together. I do have it lined up right with the finished, or that edge there of the pillow. And I'm going to do approximately a 1/4 inch seam from the edge of that. So I'm kind of just using my walking foot, and I picked a place on there. It's actually just a little bit over a 1/4 inch, and I'm just going to sew right down along that. Okay, now we're going to remove that. And so I have that stitched on, and then when I fold that back and I'm going to wrap it around, I've got like a nice little finished edge there. It just looks like a little piece of binding on there. And then now also, while we're here at the machine, we're going to go ahead and prepare our zipper. And so I'm going to take this scrap and I'm just going to cut it in half. So I've got about a 3.5 inch long piece or so. And I'm just going to be lining this. It's never going to be seen inside the pillow, but I do like to have the right sides together. And I'm lining that up over the zipper, and I've got it a 1/4 inch beyond my pin where I've marked my zipper, but I'm actually going to be sewing right on the line where the pin is underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and just stitch that. I am back stitching several times over the zipper teeth just to ensure that it's held in place, that those aren't going to separate and come undone. Okay, and something's going on with my machine. The threads are stuck in there. But then what that looks like when I pull that back is just, I'm going to have a tab added, and I'm going to trim off that extra part of the zipper that I do not need. So that end is ready, and we're going to prepare the next end, the end with the pull on it, exactly the same way. Now I have this single piece of fabric attached, and I'm just going to trim this edge off here so it is roughly the same size as the width of the pillow. I'm just not working with extra fabric that way. And I'm going to just kind of finger press this up and away from the pillow back, and then we are going to flip it over. So now I have the wrong side of the pillow back. And I'm just going to pull this fabric down. I'm not worried about finishing this edge. It's going to be sewn in with the zipper, and you're not going to see it. So I'm not going to take the extra step to do that. And in order to keep this nicely back and held into place, because I'm going to attach my zipper at the same time, I'm going to use an Elmer's glue stick. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right along that very edge of the pillow back. And then I'm going to just kind of wrap this fabric around and press it into place. Okay, and then that way from the front now we have a really nice finished edge there that we can sew onto the zipper. And so I'm just going to place my zipper kind of centered. We do have it oversized. So then I'm going to just tuck my zipper underneath this nice edge here. And I'm just going to come back in the sewing machine and kind of top stitch right along this onto the zipper, and then that part will be finished. I have my zipper foot on my sewing machine, and I've got my needle moved over so that it's not going to interfere with my foot. And then I'm just going to do a top stitch along the edge of the folded over fabric on my pillow back. I've got it positioned next to the zipper, and I'm going to sew about 1/8 of an inch away from that edge. Okay, and now we have our zipper attached to the bottom portion of our quilted pillow back. And you can see I can open it up, and this is where my pillow is going to go eventually. And now we're ready to do the top half of the pillow. Okay, now I have my bottom part of the pillow back with the zipper attached. I have that 3-inch piece of fabric that I cut earlier, and I have folded in half, so now I have a folded finished edge here and then 2 raw edges here. I just folded it in half and gave it a good press. And then I have the top part of my quilted pillow back, and I'm using this edge here. This is where we cut it, and I have that exposed edge there, and we want to finish that off. And what we're going to do then is have this, I have that piece right side up. I am going to take the fabric strip, and I'm lining that right up along the edge of the cut pillow, as well as the 2 raw ends of the little flange piece. And so I'm just lining those up together. And then I am going to take the zippered portion of the back of my pillow. I'm going to turn that right sides together, and I am going to line up the edge of the zipper tape with the flanged fabric and the edge of my pillow. So everything is all lined up along this edge, and then we can sew that in place. You can pin it if you want. I may put a few pins in there just to hold it till I get to the sewing machine. And then we're just going to stitch right along the edge of that zipper. So I'll put a pin there and just a pin down here. Again, just making sure everything is lined up. Okay, and then we're just going to sew about 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the zipper tape, not catching the zipper itself in it. So close to the zipper, but not next to, you know, on top of the teeth. It's next to the teeth. Let's stitch that in place. Okay, let's go back to the table and take a look at that. Here is what it looks like. And I am going to now flip the pillow back over. So now we have our exposed pillow top. So we've got our flange here, the top of it, and you can see just the zipper teeth. So we've got that neatly sewn in there. And so we have one more step with this zipper. You can kind of see this flange is just kind of sticking up, and we want it to come over the zipper to kind of hide that and keep it from, getting caught or exposed. So what we're going to do is, in order to keep this nice and flat, I'm going to kind of turn this over. We want this edge, this raw edge that has the flange in it, the edge of the zipper, we are going to kind of top stitch that. So then I've pulled the top back onto itself so that this seam then is facing up, and I can kind of feel with my fingers. I'm just going to kind of press that back. So now I know that this seam, the seam allowance here, is facing towards the back of the pillow. And I'm just going to kind of finger press that in place. And what that does then is it's going to allow this flap to lay neatly over the zipper tape. And it also gets the end of the zipper tape. It currently is folded under the zipper, and we're going to tuck it back to the side of the pillow that has the quilted top and stitch it down so then it holds that, all of that's out of the way of the zipper then. So we're just going to kind of manipulate that to get it back in place. And if you wanted to add a few pins there, but I'm just going to come back and do a little top stitch, kind of stitch in the ditch, just so I'm catching that zipper underneath, the zipper tape underneath being flush with this edge of the pillow here, so that it's just going to lay a little bit flatter, and my zipper then is going to be nice and flat inside there. So let's go top stitch that. Okay, before we sew it, I flipped it over so you can maybe get a better idea of what I'm talking about. This is going to be the top of the pillow, and you can see right now that there's a lot of bulk in there. Here's our zipper, and it's just kind of hanging out here. So to keep it nice and flat, we are going to just kind of roll this seam allowance that has the edge of the zipper tape, pushing it back towards the top of our quilted pillow there. And then we're just essentially going to top stitch that down. I'm going to do it from the front though, so that my stitches look nice on the front. And I just want to make sure that I'm catching this zipper then on the back, so then it's laying nice and flat. I still have my zipper foot on, and I've got it lined up. I can feel that the seam underneath is pushed this way towards the top of my pillow, and then I'm stitching on the top of my pillow here, just right next to that edge, that folded edge, and it's just a top stitch, so I'm like 1/8 of an inch away from that fold. Okay, and we'll trim those threads. And then now we can see that the flap is laying nice and flat over our zipper. Okay, let's go finish it up. The pillow back is now ready to attach to the front of the pillow. And so what I'm going to do now is just go ahead and flip this over so that I have the wrong side facing up. And I purposely left this flange longer on each edge. It extends past the edge of the pillow, just so I can make sure that I'm lining up straight along the pillow top. So we made the pillow backing is much larger than the top, and so in order to keep that zipper like going straight across the back, I use these little edges here as kind of a guideline. I can check it on the front just so that I know that it's going straight and not crooked along the back. And so what I'm doing is I'm using this seam here on the front of my pillow as just a reference, and I've got it pretty much lined up right with the edge over here. And then if I follow that along, I'm pretty square with that. It looks pretty straight. Okay. And I'm happy with the placement. The zipper's roughly going to be right in the center. Now I could adjust it and make it so that the zipper's more towards the bottom or more towards the top, but I'm just going to leave it right in the middle there. And so I have the pillow top facing up, the pillow backing, the right side is facing down. And now I'm just going to go ahead and pin these together along the edges. And I'm going to come and do I'm going to attach it with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, because I don't want to go so wide that when I put my binding on, I'm not covering it. So in order to cover that seam, I'm going to keep it within like 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch when I sew that on. But I am going to pin all the way around just to keep it straight and flat and positioned exactly where I want it. And then we can go stitch that in place. Now the pillow top is attached to the pillow backing, and I'm going to go ahead and just trim off the extra backing right next to the edge of the pillow top. And there's lots of layers here where that flange has been added. Okay. That's not super straight. I'm going to fix that. Well, okay. Try that again. There we go. And I feel like we got through all those layers there. And then let's do this side. Same thing, just lining up my ruler along the edge of the pillow top and just cut right through everything. And there we have everything attached. Now, just to finish it off, I'm going to put a binding around the outside edge, and we'll take a look at the back here. Here is the flange, and I've chosen to do all the same fabric. So it then is kind of camouflaged. You can't really tell that it's there. It just looks like one solid piece. But if you wanted to add a little bit of flair and fun to your project, you could do a coordinating fabric on your flange. So that's a neat little thing you can do. And then you can see when I lift up the flange, the zipper is attached in here. And you can see if I open it up, then that is inside my pillow, and I'll be able to add a pillow form once I have added the binding. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, I have the completed pillow top here, and I'm going to go ahead and add in the pillow insert. And so I can easily open it and go ahead and just tuck that in there. I like to make sure that the corner of the pillow is placed right in the corner of the pillowcase thing there. And want to fill that out. Okay, very good. And then just zip that shut and put the flap over there, and it rests nicely along there. It looks like it's just one piece of the pillow. And there it is from the front. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and have lots of fun making pillows. Thanks a lot.